There he is, Dan Riskin here for our weekly check on science and tech. Good to see you, Dan.
Great to see you.
I feel good about this because I do my best to get out and vote every single election campaign, right? You want to get your voice heard. Voters, turns out, kind of live longer.
Yeah, not just kind of. They do live longer. So in Finland, they have a database of who's voted and also mortality, and it's all linked. So they don't know how you vote. That's not registered, but they know that you voted, and they know who did not vote. And so they looked at the 1999 elections, then they looked at mortality for the next 2 decades, and people who did not vote in that election had a higher mortality rate. For men, it was 73% higher. For women, it was 63% higher. Now, I'm not saying 73% of the men who didn't vote died.
Right, yeah.
I'm saying that the mortality rate was increased by that amount. But it's pretty shocking, and the mechanism is thought to be that voting is a measure of your connectedness to your community. Right? When you vote, it's not just about the election itself. It's about participating in the democratic process and caring about your neighbors and showing that you're invested in what's happening in society. And so people that aren't voting, that might be a symptom that things aren't going well for them socially. And it's thought that that's what's really driving the mortality.
That is really a fascinating study here, and another reason to get out and vote.
Get out and vote,
you
absolutely.
See, our voter turnout has been pretty low for the last little while here. So we'll see.
Another reason to dangle.
Exactly. Okay, you could live longer. In the meantime, this one was so curious, and as soon as I saw this, I said, I know we're going to talk about this. The science behind rock, paper, scissors.
Can we go right now?
Yeah, for sure.
Okay, so you go 1, 2, 3, show, right?
Okay.
1, 2, 3, show. Oh, he got me. Okay, all right. So here's what we've learned from a study where they put EEG helmets on people and they played rock, paper, scissors against each other 480 times. This is science for like when you are doing what you see on TV there, where you're going against each other multiple times.
Right.
People are not as random as they think they are. And one of the ways that we're not random is that we switch more often than we should. So you would expect, if it really was random, that you would repeat what you just threw in the next turn a third of the time.
Right, because there's only rock, paper, or scissors.
So a third of the time you should be repeating. But in real life, when people are playing, they only repeat about 20% of the time. So they're not repeating as much as they should. And so you can take advantage of that. If you're playing multiple games against the person dressed up as whatever that person is, or anybody for that matter, the trick is to assume that they're not going to repeat. And so whatever they just showed, play what loses to that. So you just beat me with scissors. So I'm going to play paper on my next round because I really think you're not going to repeat scissors because you're a bad randomizer.
I guess so.
That's the science of it. And overall, if you only have one game to go, you can assume the other person's going to go rock because that's the most common.
The thing that strikes me about this is that, as we were just seeing in that, like we just did a 1, 2, 3 kind of go. But when you're playing like over and over again, like the concentration level of then the quick analysis of what did you just throw or what did she just throw, and like that's the hard part.
It is super hard. And so if you're thinking, well, I'll just be random, the problem is we're not random. So the best way to be random, and this is counterintuitive, is to memorize a string of random rock, paper, scissors. To like get a computer to kick out a sequence and then memorize that sequence and then play that. So by memorizing, that's the only way you can really be random because your brain won't do it.
I guess not, and that means that because the thing is, I think I try to get into your mind because that's what happens when you play rock, paper.
Totally.
Like, I know Dan's going to throw paper. Like I just not from a random perspective, but just from what I've seen after the first few throws. I kind of get that feeling.
You're playing like a sports person. But the sort of quintessential strategy for rock, paper, scissors is really to be random because nobody can adapt to that. But you're only going to win half the time, and so if you want to get that edge, you got to start thinking ahead of the other person. And the fact that people don't repeat as often as they should is your magic sauce for coming up with a strategy. Okay,
really quickly before we let you go here, Dan, AI, it can mimic a lot of things, but perhaps not our level of rudeness.
Yeah, a new study.
Who knew?
I mean, if you've ever noticed, if you've interacted with ChatGPT, it's overly nice.
Yeah, very.
So what they did is they had a whole bunch of social media posts from people and social media posts from AI, and they say with 80% confidence they can tell which is which just based on the fact that AI is too polite in social media posts. People on social media tend to be rude, I'm sure. You know that well.
Noticed that,
yeah. Thank you for your tweets, everybody. But but AI is just a little bit too kind. So we keep talking about the fact that we're in this era where you can't tell AI from real, but this is one way in which there is a difference, and maybe other differences can be teased out in other places.
The DMs I get about my sock or no sock situation, those are real.
Yeah, those are real. Because they're rude.
Yeah. They are very.
Thank you,
very
real
rude.
People.
And I don't care. All right, Dan, always appreciate this. We'll see you next week.
Thanks a lot.
Thanks so much.